he gonna watch?
Could we make a note in the minutes that he's watching us?
From Netflix's bloody Korean hit about people betting their lives for millions to a coming-of-age road trip through Iran, welcome to our show about all that's new and noteworthy on the small screen. I'm joined in the studio by Alison Sargent, who's been keeping an eye on the latest shows. And we're starting with the latest Netflix phenomenon, the Korean series Squid Game.
Yes, Eve, and I'm guessing most of our viewers have already heard of this show by now. It's on track to be one of Netflix's most watched shows ever. It's already topped the charts in every single country. This show falls into a genre that's been described as a death game or survival drama. The most prominent examples are Japanese film Battle Royale and US book and film series The Hunger Games. What sets Squid Game apart, though, is that all of these participants are choosing to be there despite knowing that they're almost certainly going to be killed. Making matters even more twisted, of course, is that every time a player dies, the money pot grows. With one player left standing, it's 45.6 billion won, which comes out to about 33 million euros. And then the final touch of sadism is that they're competing in common childhood games like red light, green light, and tug of war that have been given lethal twists so that the moment you lose, you die.
Well, despite the inspiration from children's games, this show is definitely not for children. Many countries say it should not be watched by kids under 16. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the trailer.
제일 센 개부터 크게 살 길이.
애들 게임 규칙 단순해.
내가 무조건 이기게 해줄 테니까.
무슨 수로?
무슨 수를 써서든.
이러면 안 되는 거잖아. 우리끼리 이렇게 죽이면 안 되는 거잖아. 게임을 거부하는 참가자는 탈락 처리된다.
So as you can see, the show has a very strong visual aesthetic. You don't necessarily see it in the trailer, Eve, but this show is very bloody. I had to turn away at certain points, but I find that much like the participants themselves, we as viewers know what we're getting into, and that does make it a little bit easier to stomach.
So the question is, would you do it?
Well, that, of course, is the question that it makes you ask yourself. I have to say that I, for one, would not, at least for now, but you never know. And that's what's good about this show, too, is you kind of understand why people might sign up for this. Writer and director Hwang Dong-hyuk says he came up with the concept back in 2008 when he was in dire straits himself and spent a lot of time reading comics like Battle Royale. He said he wanted to create an extreme competition that mirrors the competition that already exists in capitalist society. Two of the most likable characters come from marginalized groups. There's a North Korean defector and a Pakistani immigrant. The main character is played by Lee Jung-jae. He's a household name in Korea. He's drowning in debt, living with his mom, divorced, and struggling to maintain a relationship with his young daughter. What I find most compelling about this show is seeing how they make connections with each other and how that extreme environment really tests human nature. So the show doesn't just make you ask yourself, whether you would participate, but if you did participate, would you be willing to kill someone else in order to survive yourself?
Well, it certainly resonated with many people. I actually asked my husband last night, come on, let's watch an episode. He confessed that he'd watched the whole series without me. This has become a total phenomenon, hasn't it?
It really has. And I think in part it's sort of growing disgust with capitalism, but also morbid fascination with people really wondering if they would be able to survive. People around the world have been recreating one particular challenge where participants use a needle or a toothpick to cut a shape out of a thin toffee-like candy. These are called dalgona or popki in Korea, and sales have actually gone up as shops have started offering Squid Game challenges. Now, Korean speakers have pointed out about this show that the English subtitles really don't do justice to the original text, but with views of non-English language content overall up 50% on Netflix in the US in 2020, I think maybe it's time for the streaming service to start investing more heavily in translating.
Yeah, indeed. Well, here in France, Cannes is welcoming stars of the small screen for the 4th season of the Cannes Series Festival.
Yes, and while everyone knows the Cannes Film Festival, of course, the Cannes Series Festival is just getting its start. There are 10 long-form and 10 short series in competition. Altogether, they come from 14 different countries. What's most exciting, especially for international audiences, is that all of them are going to be available to stream online for free for 48-hour time periods. You just need to reserve a ticket. The one that I'm most excited to watch is a Norwegian show called Countrymen. It's about a group of men who move into the countryside for not entirely honest reasons and accidentally end up founding the country's first halal cheese farm. One of the writers is Anne Bjornstad, who's known for her work on other Norwegian comedies like Lilyhammer.
And there are also some pretty big shows premiering outside the competition this year.
Yeah, they include Around the World in 80 Days, which is based, of course, on the novel by Jules Verne, and it stars David Tennant of Doctor Who fame. There's also the final season of the Italian hit Gomorrah, a mafia drama set in Naples that's created by the writer Roberto Saviano, and it's based on his own books. And then there's season 2 of the French show Validé, which is a deep dive into the world of French hip-hop music. That was created by actor and director Franck Gastambide for Canal+, and it actually broke the channel's streaming records when season 1 came out in 2020. It was a total phenomenon here in France. Season 2 tackles the topic of women in rap with the introduction of a new main character. She is a female rap prodigy, and she's played by newcomer Laetitia Kerfa. Let's take a look.
There we go, that was from season 2 of Validé. Now, the main character of the next series we're going to talk about is herself a hip-hop fan. This is Iranian coming-of-age series Happiness on Arte.
Yes, it's about a 17-year-old Shadi who lives an upper-middle-class life in Tehran. She lives with her mother, who's planning to move them to France. In the meantime, though, she meets a sketchy but charming guy with a van, and she convinces him to take her, her best friend, and her best friend's cousin on a road trip across the country to visit her father, who she hasn't seen in years. Let's take a look at that trailer.
اصلا سفارت جوابمون میده یا نه؟ آیا پدر شادی رضایت داده به این مهاجرت؟ دروغ میگی؟ ببخشید من شادی
پارسام قراره اسکورتشون کنم تو سفر یا حتی یه وقتی هوس کرد
وسط بیابون گیر کردیم با یه ساقی مواد و پسرخاله ابله هم چی دیگه این افتضاح
Now, this show has a very short format. Each episode is just about 6 minutes long. As you see in the trailer, it's beautifully shot. It's really fun to see different parts of the Iranian landscape. I also loved the soundtrack, which starts with more contemporary Iranian pop music and then turns more classic as they go into the countryside.
Alison, you're certainly widening our non-English speaking series horizons. It's great. This looks like your classic coming-of-age road trip story.
And it really is. This show was created by a 25-year-old Iranian director named Puria Takavar. Before this series, he made a documentary about young people in Iran that he said heavily influenced this project. He found that in general, they're in search of 3 things: freedom, happiness, and self-confidence. It sounds like young people everywhere in the world, of course, and he said he really did want to create a universal story that was set in Iran, and he also wanted to challenge the narrative that moving to a Western country necessarily leads to a happier life.
In Iran, we all have this kind of a fantasy about immigration, and we think that, okay, for the sake of having a better life, the only chance might be immigrating. But we don't know really how hard it is, so many people just become disappointed once they immigrate, because immigration is a very hard thing to do. For being happy and have a good life, it's really dependent on the people. So you can be in a very civilized, modern and free country, but still be unhappy. And you can also be in a country like Iran, which has some limitations, but you can still find happiness there.
Now, unfortunately, this show is not yet available with English subtitles, but keep an eye out because it might be someday.
Okay, Alison, well, we started with extreme capitalism and we're going to end with it as well because this month HBO releases its third season of the award-winning drama Succession.
Exactly. Some classify it as a drama, others a dark comedy or even a satire. Succession is about a family media empire. Creator Jesse Armstrong has said that the Roy family is based on a mix of real-life moguls, including the Murdochs. They are deliciously unlikable. The show is nothing like Squid Game, but Succession is its own kind of survival competition as the family members scheme and backstab, shifting loyalties as they vie for power. Fans have been waiting for 2 years for season 3, and it picks up right where season 2 left off. It also looks set to be the most brutal yet, as we hear Logan, the family patriarch, say in the trailer, "This life is not for everyone. It's a number on a piece of paper. It's a fight for a knife in the mud." And then one final thing to note, Eve, is that this much anticipated third season comes out as HBO's streaming platform is set to launch in some parts of Europe at the end of the month.
Okay. Alison, thank you very much. We're going to leave you with a clip of Succession, and you can catch our interview with the actress who plays the stepmom in that series, Hiam Abbas, online at france24.com. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
Owen is a knucklehead, Shiv is a fake, and Kenny is screwy. I've seen more than any of them.
This life is not for everyone. It's a number on a piece of paper. It's a fight for a knife in the mud.
I'm a good guy. I'm better than you.